Beach, have you seen Bocchi the Rock? And what do you think of it? I believe it is particularly well suited to your interests because it's about a bunch of high school girls. There are no men to be seen anywhere. It's about trying to start a band and also about crippling social anxiety.
Sure.
Which is maybe not all of my interests, but there's a few in there. I really like it. And I also acknowledge that it can be a very hard watch for some people.
Well, it's like we assume you would also like Akiba Maid War because there's a lot of nonsense in it that you would like gangster politics and very strong character types.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I watched the thing that was getting shared, which is basically the ending, I think, of the first episode, which is just we're going to do the maid dancing, but we're also going to have lots of like gunfighting going on.
Yeah.
And I watched that whole sequence.
A rival cafe.
Yeah, and I watched the whole sequence, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to enjoy this if this is like a major part of this show. Just because I was like, oh, I don't think I like this kind of violence. I don't mind violence, but I don't think I like this kind of violence. And so I was like, yeah. And Ian got very surprised that I was like, you wouldn't watch this? Seems like right up your alley. I'm like, it was not I know it's ridiculous. I understand that it's ridiculous, but I can't seem to watch it. So, yeah. But I like Bocchi the Rock. Apparently, I've learned the word scrimblow. I don't know what it means, but apparently scrimblow is a new word, so...
No, it's not. Who told you that?
People online are being like scrimblow. Like, hey, scrimblow socially anxious girls are the hot thing this season. Just look at what's her name from Chainsaw Man and Kobeni from Chainsaw Man, and look at Bocchi from Bocchi the Rock, and look at Suletta from Witch from Mercury. And I'm kind of like, okay, fine,
sure.
That's what they are now. I'll just say
that's what we call them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
That new type.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I guess I should say, you're right. I haven't learned the word. I have certainly heard a word or read a word, and it's fun to say, but I have no idea what it means.
Oh, scrimblow is like blorbo. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
I do have to, what we do here at Desert Bus for Hope is for the youth, right? And I feel it's only more fun when it's by the youth. And if I can understand the youth better, then I will be part of their cohort.
So you're trying to pick up the lingo. You're
trying
to pick up what they're throwing down.
Yeah, I don't want to use the apps if I can help it, but if at least I can learn what they're talking about, I'll feel better about it. But yeah, I've kind of learned words, and that is fine.
Now I'm just thinking about Chainsaw Man. Sorry.
It's fine. Head empty, thinking about Hell Shake Yano and Chainsaw Man.
No. Although, since Pop Team Epic was coming up, I was thinking about Bob Team Epic, clearly. Obviously. Bob Nimimi. And now's the perfect time to talk about Pop Team Epic and how much I love it and why I love it and why I specifically love Bob Team Epic. Which is it has a Desert Bus callback, a tie-in, because the same animation studio. I don't know if the same people are involved, but the same company that did Gallo Sengen for Policeman, the music video for that.
Right.
And did Hell Shake Yano do the Bob Team Epic little bit, which is horrible, but uses animation language in a clear way, so you can tell what's happening.
Yeah,
even
you
though
can
it's
see
awful.
All of the rules that they're breaking that you're not supposed to break, and it's like it's so fun to see it. Like the parts where it's like this clearly 3D object shot at one angle looks like this, and it looks completely normal. So we'll have them turn, and you're like, oh, it's horrifying.
But they also have the thing where it's like what would normally be the back of the character's mouth if they had their mouth open is their lips that are kind of just embedded somewhere.
Right.
in their face zone. It doesn't have to be where their mouth is, but it is the mouth they talk out of.
Right.
But yeah, Pop Team Epic. They do each episode twice. They do a pair of female voice actors and then male voice actors. Sometimes they let them, it seems, riff on the scripts a bit. Like they don't have very clear limits to when they can talk or not.
Nope.
So sometimes they'll even do different punchlines.
Yeah. Or they'll just decide that the story is going in one direction, or they'll just start making reference to things that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to watch it's hard to watch it and then watch it a second time, I find, because it's like I've already seen everything that's going to happen. So whatever happens in the second part had better be different enough that it can still maintain my interest. And when it isn't, I'm like, I feel like I've wasted 15 minutes of my life, and they did that on purpose.
Yeah.
But then sometimes it's like you watch, you're like, oh, okay, it was different enough in a certain way that I really enjoyed it. I think data is a way to explain it. Yeah.
It just in general absurdity. Like it's not a slice of life like Nichijou or really Azumanga Daioh. It's just a sequence of short bits that may involve anti-humor, but is mostly just like when you're hanging out with a friend who really gets you and you make like stupid deep cuts about like, oh, people in video games are like this, or here's this Gundam character. Or
one of my favorites is Pop Team Epic B-side.
Yes.
Because
or they'll do genre parodies.
Yeah, and as a genre parody, if you understand how yaoi works in terms of Japan, the Yuri manga Discord I hang out on has referred to it as the old Pop Team Epic is the first lesbian yaoi show. And
yeah,
I'm like,
they did.
Yeah. And
yeah.
And I'm just like, that's kind of what B-side really is there. And I'm like, I really like this because it captures, and they still do all the same gags from Pop Team Epic, but they just lean into it so hard as this. But this is if it was a yaoi show, and it's like, it's real weird. And I think that's part of the things somebody mentions, like the two actors who voiced the Elric brothers from Full Metal Alchemist voiced one Pop Team Epic episode.
Yeah.
I had no idea that happened. And
I think they did like Emero and Char as well.
Yeah, and it's like, how would I know any of that if somebody didn't point out that that's what happened? And I'm like, I think it really depends on how much you know about the industry. Yeah, and Seiyu, and like they had a whole thing where they're just making fun of King Records the whole time, and I'm like,
oh they love to. They've been after King Records all season 2. It's amazing.
King Records is one of their sponsors.
Yeah, it's like aha, business daddy.
Yeah. And it's just like the more you learn about what's going on, the more fun it is to experience, which makes it really hard to recommend as a thing for people to watch, because it's like, you might miss the joke and that's okay. But if you learn about what the joke is, then you'll be like, oh, that's great. But that requires that's like a lot of stuff too. It's like, if you don't get the joke because the joke is so inside, that doesn't mean it's a bad joke. It just means it's a joke that didn't work for you.
They use a variety of like animation software to make different things. So some of the stuff will look extremely cheap. And then like in series 1, they did a whole animated felted puppet thing with Earth, Wind, Fire's Let's Groove.
Yeah, it's a trip.
It is like the most annoying kind, or the worst kind of show, in terms of like recommending. Like you basically can't recommend it without just annoying everybody.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's so good, but
you're gonna need notes.
You're gonna.
And it's like this thing might not be funny the first time you see it, but when they call it back like 5 times, it'll be funny. Because you're like, oh, I know a person like that who just hits me for no reason.
Yeah.
By the 100th episode, you're going to be super into it.